She didn't beg and chase, and that's why he never heals. He never understood the weight of her absence at first. She didn't yell, she didn't plead, and she never lowered herself to chase him. She simply walked away when she realized her worth could not be met halfway, leaving a silence heavier than any argument, emptier than any apology. In that quiet, he felt it, the sudden realization that what he had taken for granted was gone and no amount of charm, persistence, or regret could bring it back. Her strength was not loud or performative, it was in her refusal to compromise, in the calm certainty with which she honored herself, and in the quiet dignity that made her unforgettable. And that is why he never heals. Because some losses are permanent not because of who leaves, but because the person who chose not to chase leaves behind a truth that cannot be ignored, a standard he cannot match, and a lesson he cannot forget. Power and self-respect is the quiet, undeniable force that defines her presence and shapes the course of any relationship she enters. She does not plead, chase, or compromise her boundaries to secure attention or affection. Her self-respect is not performative, it is intrinsic, rooted in a clear understanding of her value and a steadfast refusal to settle for less than she deserves. When a man encounters this kind of strength, it is both inspiring and challenging. He realizes that love is not a one-sided pursuit, that affection cannot be demanded, and that intimacy requires mutual respect and effort. Her power lies not in controlling him, but in controlling herself, in setting standards for how she allows herself to be treated, and in demonstrating that she will not compromise her dignity for temporary connection or validation. This power is transformative because it forces him to confront his own readiness to love responsibly. A woman who embodies self-respect acts as a mirror, reflecting the gaps between his intentions and his actions. If he has relied on charm, persistence, or superficial gestures to maintain relationships, her presence exposes those strategies as insufficient. She shows, without judgment, that genuine connection cannot exist when one person diminishes their own value or disregards boundaries. Loving her requires not manipulation, argument, or coercion, but alignment with principles, honesty, and integrity. Her power is subtle yet absolute. It reshapes the dynamics of intimacy simply by existing. Her self-respect also creates a sense of autonomy that is difficult to reconcile for someone accustomed to pursuing affection as a given. She does not measure her love by how much he wants it or how hard he tries. She measures it by the respect, understanding, and authenticity he brings to the relationship. In refusing to chase, she signals that her worth is non-negotiable, and that connection is a choice rather than an obligation. This creates a space where he must recognize that love is not transactional, that effort cannot substitute for character, and that desire alone is insufficient to sustain a meaningful bond. The power she embodies is also enduring because it leaves an imprint long after her departure. He carries the awareness of her standards and boundaries into every subsequent relationship, conscious or not. Her strength teaches him lessons that cannot be forgotten, that dignity cannot be bartered, that respect must be mutual, and that certain forms of love are only possible when both parties bring integrity and self-awareness to the table. The absence of compromise in her approach magnifies the significance of her presence, making her memory a constant standard against which he measures himself. Ultimately, the power in her self-respect is both a gift and a challenge. It illuminates what is required to truly connect, while simultaneously highlighting what he may lack. It transforms his understanding of intimacy, boundaries, and personal worth, leaving an impression that cannot be erased, a standard that cannot be lowered, and a lesson that resonates far beyond the moments they shared together. Irreplaceable autonomy is the quiet force that makes her both unforgettable and unattainable. She moves through life with intention, making choices that honor her values and refusing to compromise her self-worth for anyone's convenience or desire. Her presence is not a tool to be earned through persistence, nor a prize to be won through pleading. She chooses where to invest her time, attention, and emotion, and that very choice is what makes her irreplaceable. When a man experiences someone who embodies this level of autonomy, he is confronted with the reality that love cannot be forced, that affection is never a given, and that genuine connection requires mutual choice rather than pursuit. Her independence is not arrogance, it is clarity, strength, and integrity, all wrapped in the kind of dignity that leaves a lasting imprint. Autonomy, in her case, is inseparable from self-respect. She understands her own value, knows her boundaries, and refuses to dilute either for comfort, fear, or desire. She does not seek validation or approval to stay. She stays because connection is genuine, reciprocal, and aligned with her principles. This is a striking contrast to relationships where pursuit, manipulation, or coercion mask underlying insecurities or imbalance. She does not chase, yet she is fully present where she chooses to be. That deliberate presence is what makes her irreplaceable. Every moment she offers is intentional, and every absence signals a boundary that cannot be negotiated. The man who fails to meet her standards is left not with anger or resentment, but with a sense of loss that is permanent because it cannot be remedied by persistence or charm. Her autonomy also teaches a profound lesson about choice in love. Being with her is never automatic. It is a privilege granted through respect, consistency, and emotional honesty. Her freedom to decide sets a standard too. The man cannot ignore. In losing her, he confronts the painful truth that no amount of effort after the fact can recreate what he once had. Because she acted with intention, she left behind a memory that continues to challenge him. He carries the awareness that love cannot be claimed through need or demand, and that connection built on chasing or begging is inherently fragile and hollow compared to what she offered. This irreplaceable autonomy shapes not only his perception of her, but also of himself. He begins to recognize the ways in which he took freedom and choice for granted, the moments when he assumed attention or affection was unconditional, and the times he allowed ego, impatience, or fear to undermine a relationship that required presence and integrity. Her example becomes a benchmark. No future connection can feel authentic without the same balance of self-respect, intentionality, and choice. Her absence is more than loss. It is a lesson embedded in the memory of her quiet, uncompromising autonomy. Ultimately, her irreplaceable autonomy is what ensures he never fully heals. She leaves behind not only a void but a standard, one that cannot be replaced, forced, or recreated. Her choices, guided by self-respect and intentionality, create a lasting impact that reshapes the way he understands love, boundaries, and the kind of respect that cannot be bargained for, only earned. Lessons in humility emerge with a quiet intensity when a man loses a woman who neither begs nor chases. She did not stay to be convinced. She did not lower herself to be pursued. And in that refusal, she delivered a truth that is impossible to ignore. Love is not an entitlement. Her consistency, and self-respect demand a reckoning with his own behavior, and losing her forces him to confront the parts of himself that he may have ignored, rationalized, or taken for granted. Humility becomes unavoidable because her standards were not negotiable, and his failure to meet them cannot be undone. In that absence, he faces the realization that no charm, apology, or persistence can replace what was lost. The lesson she imparted through her actions and choices cannot be erased, only understood and internalized. Her presence was a constant, subtle reminder that love requires alignment between intention and action. In relationships where pursuit, pleading, or manipulation are tolerated, humility is often unnecessary because outcomes can be coerced or negotiated. With her, that was never the case. She existed as a standard of integrity and self-worth that demanded accountability. To love her, he needed to rise to the level of honesty, attentiveness, and emotional maturity she embodied. When he failed, her departure was not just an ending, it was a reflection of the consequences of neglecting these truths. In losing her, he is forced to confront the discomfort of having fallen short, the awareness that he allowed his ego, impatience, or carelessness to undermine a connection that required respect and presence. Humility in this context is not humiliation or shame. It is a deep internal recalibration. It is the recognition that genuine connection is fragile, that self-respect cannot be compromised without consequence, and that certain people and relationships demand a level of integrity that cannot be faked. Her refusal to chase or beg ensures that this lesson is unforgettable. He cannot argue with it, cannot negotiate it, and cannot erase it. The weight of what he allowed to slip through his hands becomes a persistent reminder of the gap between his intentions and his actions, and it forces him to confront the truth about himself. The lessons she leaves also extend beyond their relationship. Her example shapes his understanding of love, respect, and accountability in all his future interactions. He begins to recognize the value of patience, of listening without defensiveness, and of honoring boundaries rather than testing or ignoring them. he sees that humility is not a weakness but a prerequisite for genuine connection, a skill that allows him to engage with others authentically and responsibly. The absence of her presence transforms regret into reflection, failure into awareness, and pain into an opportunity for growth. Ultimately, lessons in humility are among the most enduring gifts of losing a woman who never begs or chases. She teaches, without words or drama, that love is earned, respect is essential, and self-awareness is non-negotiable. Her departure is painful precisely because it cannot be mitigated or reversed, but it leaves behind a clarity that reshapes his understanding of relationships, his approach to intimacy, and the man he must become to honor the lessons she embodied. The long-lasting emotional imprint of a woman who didn't beg or chase is subtle, yet it lingers in ways that are impossible to escape. She leaves not only a void, but a standard, a memory, and a benchmark that haunts every thought, every decision, and every future connection. Her presence was never forced, never desperate, and never performative. Every interaction with her was intentional, grounded in self-respect and clarity of purpose. Because of this, the moments they shared, however brief or ordinary, carry weight far beyond their immediate context. The impact is enduring because it is not tied to her availability or presence, but to the quality of her character and the quiet strength with which she conducted herself. He remembers the patience she inspired, the integrity she demanded, and the way her authenticity illuminated his own flaws and limitations. Her emotional imprint is reinforced by her refusal to chase, to beg, or to compromise for convenience. By maintaining her boundaries and honoring her self-respect, she left an indelible mark on the way he perceives connection, intimacy, and love. Every memory of her becomes more than nostalgia. It is a standard against which he measures himself and every future relationship. The moments when she chose to be present are remembered not only for what they were, but for what they revealed about the level of respect, honesty, and care that a meaningful relationship requires. Her absence amplifies this effect because it leaves him to reckon with the consequences of failing to rise to that standard. The emotional imprint also affects how he approaches vulnerability. She taught without preaching or demanding that love cannot survive when one person compromises their worth. In losing her, he realizes that affection is insufficient without integrity, attention, and mutual care. Her presence, quiet, confident, and self-contained, reshapes his understanding of trust, patience, and emotional honesty. Even in absence, the lessons linger, the way she held herself, the clarity of her boundaries, and the dignity with which she navigated conflict become internalized reference points. He cannot replicate her, and any attempt to replace the connection only highlights what was lost, deepening the impact of her absence. Her long-lasting emotional imprint goes beyond regret or longing. It becomes a guide, a silent mentor in the way he navigates future relationships. He remembers not only her actions, but the principles that underpin them. He carries the awareness that love cannot be coerced, that boundaries must be respected, and that connection is a privilege rather than a guarantee. This imprint ensures that her influence endures, shaping his character, decisions, and emotional responses for years to come. Ultimately, the long-lasting emotional imprint of a woman who never begged or chased is permanent because it is inseparable from the integrity she embodied. She leaves behind more than memories. She leaves standards, awareness, and a quiet force that continues to shape the way he understands love, respect, and the human capacity to honor another's worth. Her absence is felt every day, not because of what was taken, but because of what she represented and the way she irrevocably changed the emotional landscape of his life. Unhealable longing is the silent ache that lingers after losing a woman who never begged or chased. She left, not because she didn't care, but because she valued herself enough to walk away from what wasn't reciprocal, what wasn't honest, and what compromised her dignity. Her absence is a wound that cannot be closed with apologies, charm, or persistence, because the connection she offered was never conditional on pursuit. It was conditional on respect, alignment, and authenticity. In losing her, he confronts a form of longing that is permanent, not fleeting. It is the kind of emptiness that surfaces unexpectedly, in quiet moments, in reminders of what could have been, and in the realization that some losses are irreparable because they were never negotiable in the first place. Her refusal to chase amplifies this longing. Most people can recover from a loss that felt avoidable, or from someone who stayed despite neglect, but she did not negotiate her presence. And that permanence in her decision creates an echo that never fades. Every memory of her, her calm strength, her unwavering boundaries, her self-possession, serves as a reminder of what he failed to appreciate fully while it existed. The longing is not just for her presence, but for the version of himself capable of meeting her standards. He feels it as a combination of loss, regret, and the haunting awareness that certain experiences once gone cannot be replicated. Unhealable longing also shapes the way he approaches relationships afterward. He carries with him the memory of her strength and integrity, and every new connection is measured against the standard she set. Even when he tries to move on, the shadow of her autonomy, self-respect, and quiet confidence lingers. No amount of charm, superficial affection, or persistence can fill the void, because the connection was never built on those things to begin with. The longing is a reflection of the unique balance she embodied, a presence that was both deeply loving and deeply principled simultaneously, offering warmth and setting boundaries that could not be crossed. Moreover, this longing is intertwined with self-reflection and accountability. It reminds him daily of the mistakes, the missed opportunities, and the ways in which he fell short. Yet it is not meant solely to punish. It is a lasting lesson in the value of integrity, presence, and respect. The ache is unhealable precisely because she left him with a mirror of his own limitations and the undeniable clarity of what it means to honor someone fully. Ultimately, unhealable longing is the enduring consequence of losing someone who never begged or chased. She leaves behind a void that cannot be replaced, a standard that cannot be lowered, and a memory that cannot be silenced. It is a reminder that some love is rare, that some connections cannot be forced, and that certain departures leave wounds not meant to heal, but lessons meant to last a lifetime. Catalyst for reflection and growth is the hidden gift embedded in losing a woman who never begged or chased. Her departure is not dramatic or loud, but its quiet inevitability forces him to confront truths he may have ignored for too long. She did not need to plead for attention or manipulate affection to remain. Her strength and self-respect ensured that her presence was a matter of choice. In losing her, he is left to reckon with the ways he fell short, the moments he took for granted, and the patterns of behavior that contributed to the loss. This confrontation, though painful, becomes the foundation for growth. The emptiness she leaves is not simply absence, it is a mirror, reflecting both his limitations and the potential within him to evolve. Her choice to step away becomes a pivotal moment, compelling introspection and self-awareness that he may not have achieved otherwise. The catalyst for growth lies in the clarity of her standards. She did not negotiate her dignity, and in doing so, she sets a permanent benchmark. Every future interaction, every new relationship is inevitably measured against the principles she embodied. This forces him to reevaluate not only how he approaches love, but also how he understands respect, boundaries, and responsibility in relationships. The growth she catalyzes is not about fleeting self-improvement or reactive change. It is a deep, lasting evolution. He begins to notice habits he overlooked, tendencies he justified, and patterns that undermine meaningful connection. Her absence forces him to confront these truths directly, without distraction or excuse, and to consider what it truly means to love responsibly. Her influence also shapes his emotional intelligence. He learns that patience, attentiveness, and honesty are not optional, but essential. Her quiet strength demonstrates that vulnerability requires courage, and that respect cannot be taken for granted. In the wake of losing her, he is challenged to internalize these lessons, to apply them consistently, and to recognize the ways in which personal growth and meaningful love are intertwined. Her departure is painful, yet it illuminates areas where he must evolve, encouraging a form of reflection that is both demanding and transformative. This process of reflection is not instantaneous. It is gradual, often subtle, and sometimes uncomfortable. He confronts regret, emptiness, and longing, but within these emotions lies the opportunity for self-awareness. He begins to understand that true growth comes not from external validation, but from the quiet recognition of what he could have done differently, what he failed to honor, and how he can approach future relationships with greater integrity. Her absence becomes a guidepost, a catalyst for reshaping his heart, his behavior, and his understanding of human connection. Ultimately, losing a woman who never begged or chased catalyzes profound growth because it leaves him with no illusions. He must face his limitations, reconcile his failures, and confront the standards she embodied. The pain of absence transforms into awareness, accountability, and the possibility of becoming a man capable of deeper, more honest, and more respectful love. Her departure is both an ending and a beginning, a force that challenges him to evolve in ways he could not have if she had stayed. In the end, she didn't beg, she didn't chase, and that is exactly why he never fully heals. Her presence was never something to be demanded, it was something to be earned, and her departure is a testament to the power of self-respect, integrity, and intentionality. She leaves behind more than absence, she leaves a standard, a memory, and a mirror reflecting his own shortcomings. The longing she inspires is unhealable, her lessons in humility and accountability permanent, and the emotional imprint she leaves becomes a quiet, persistent guide. Yet within that pain lies growth, reflection, and the opportunity to become a better, more aware version of himself. Some losses are not meant to be forgotten because the people who leave in strength do more than depart. They shape the lives they touch, leaving echoes that endure long after they are gone.